Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll learn lists. List is a collection data type which is ordered and changeable. And we'll cover the following topics: how to create a list using square brackets and list constructor, and access the list elements using index number, return the list elements from the end using the negative index number, return the range of elements using index, return the range of elements from the end using the negative index number, update the existing element in the list, loop through a list, and how to check if the elements exist, find the length of a list using len function, and how to add an element to the end of a list using append function, how to add an element at the specified index using insert function, and remove an element from a list using remove function, remove an element at the specified index using pop function, remove specified index using del keyword, empty a list using clear function, copy from one list to another list using copy function, copy from one list to another list using list function, concatenate two lists using plus operator, and how to concatenate two lists using append operator, and also extend function. Right, now let's see the demo. Go to our IDE PyCharm, go to our project practice, new Python file, and let's name it lists demo, and let's add the comment lists demo. Now let's see how to create a list using square brackets. So let's create a list and name it list1, and within the square brackets we have to give the list of elements. Now let's add the elements. Let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday. Now let's print the list1 to see in the console. Control S to save the file, and right click, run list demo. Now you can see list values printed in the console. So let's add the comment. Let's add it in the console as well. So you can see how to create a list using square brackets. Now let's see how to create a list using list constructor. Now let's pass all the list elements to list constructor. Let's use the same values. Let's try to print list1 and run it. Now we can see list1 elements, again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Here we are creating a list using list constructor, and here we created the list using square brackets, and here using a list constructor. Okay, now let's see how to access list elements using index number. So let's say you wanted to access element at the index 3. So keep in mind the index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. So we should see Thursday. So let's add this as well, so you can see in the console. Now the next one is how to return the list elements from the end using the negative index number. So let's say print list1 of, let's pass 2, and let's try to print this. So now you can see 0, 1, 2. Instead of printing Wednesday, we see Thursday, because -1 refers to the last element in the list. So we have to calculate from -1, -2. So that's the reason you are seeing Thursday. Let's add that comment. -1 refers to the last element in the list. So that is, if we try to print list1 of -1, so let's see, we get Friday, and -2 is Thursday. Okay, so that's how we can access the elements from the end using negative index number. So let's run it. For accessing the elements from the end using negative index number, the values are Thursday and Friday. The next one is how to return the range of elements using index. So here we were able to access just one element. Now let's see how to access range of elements. So print list1 of, let's give the range from 1 to 3. So in this case 3 is excluded, so you'll see 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 is excluded, and we should see Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's run it. Now you can see Tuesday and Wednesday printed in the console. So let's add the comment, that is index 3 is excluded. Now let's see print list1 of, I'm not giving the beginning index, and the end index is 4. Index 4 is excluded. The element at the index 4 is excluded. So if we run this, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it should exclude this one and print the rest of the values. So now you can see it excluded the last one and printed the first 4 elements in the list. So now let's give list1 of, give only the start index and not the last one, the end index. Now let's see what happens. So it should start from 0, 1 and give to the end. Okay, so that's how we can access the range of elements using index. Now let's see how to return the range of elements from the end using the negative index number. Okay, here we were able to access just one element. Now we'll see the range of elements. So print list1 of, let's say -3 to -1. So in this case also -3 is included and -1 excluded. So if you see the output, now you can see Wednesday and Thursday. Our list is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we gave -3 to 1. So 1, 2 and 3, right? So in this case 1 is excluded, so we see Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, 1 is excluded, so that's why you are not seeing Friday, and 2 and 3 are included. So 3 is included, so you are seeing Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so that's how we can calculate the range of elements from the end of a list using negative index number. Now let's try to update the existing element in the list. So let's try to update the element at the index 1. Instead of Tuesday, let's try to replace with Sunday. Now let's try to print the list. So we are trying to update the existing elements in the list. So now we can see Tuesday is replaced with Sunday. Now let's try to loop through a list by using a for loop. We'll cover more about loops in the coming lectures. So we are trying to loop the list1 and assigning it to temp variable, and let's try to print temp. So it loops through the list and assign 1 by 1 value to temp, and we are trying to print the temp variable. So if you run this, we should see 1 by 1. It loops through the list and lists 1 by 1, Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Okay, now let's try to check if the element exists. If let's take if Sunday exists in list1, print element Sunday exists in list1. So by using the if condition, we are checking if the element exists in the list. So now let's run it. Since it exists, it says element Sunday exists in list1. Okay, so let's try to see the next one. Find the length of a list using len function. So print pass our list to len function, that is the length. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in the list, so it should print 5. Okay, so the next one is add an element to the list, to the end of a list using append function. So list1 dot append. Let's try to add Saturday to the end of the list. So let's add this to print in the console and run it. So you can see the value 5, and here also let's add. We are trying to add an element to the end using append function. Now you can see, let's try to print this. So we'll see the values inside list 1, and Saturday is added to the end of the list. So we are able to add an element to a list by using append function. So the next one is how to add an element at the specified index using insert function. Append function adds to the end of the list, and if you want to add an element at the specified index, we have to use, let's try to print this and try to add the value list1 dot insert. Let's say at the index 1 we are trying to add Tuesday. Now if you see, this is our list: Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and 0, 1. Here we are trying to add Tuesday. Save it and let's try to print list 1, and we should see at the index 1 element Tuesday is added to the list. Now the next thing is how to remove an element from a list using remove function. List1 dot remove of, let's try to remove Sunday from the list and try to print this. Let's add in the print statement, so we will see in the console and you can check. So our list was this. We try to remove Sunday from the list, so now we can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and we removed Sunday from the list. Now the next thing is trying to remove an element at the specified index using pop function. So list1 dot pop, let's say at the index 2, and list1 dot pop, and let's try to print list 1. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and Saturday. So we are trying to remove the element at index 2, 0, 1, 2. So we removed Wednesday and we didn't specify any index here, so it removes the last element from the list. If you didn't specify any index, it tries to remove the last element from the list if index is not specified. So now the next one is how to remove specified index using del keyword. So del list1 of, let's say element at the index 2, and let's try to print list 1. So this is our list. We are trying to, let's add this in the console so we don't get confused, and we are trying to remove the element at the index 2, 0, 1, 2. So now Thursday should be removed from the list. So now we see only Monday, Tuesday and Friday. If in case if we don't specify any index, it deletes the list completely. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you do not specify the index, then it removes the list completely. So whereas in case of pop, it removes the last element, here it removes the entire list itself. So you guys can try that later. Now the next one is how to empty a list using clear function. So list1 dot clear, and let's try to print that. After clearing the list, let's try to print the list and see the values. You should see an empty list because it cleared all the elements from the list. Now let's copy from one list to another using copy function. So let's say we created another list. Now our list 1 is empty. Let's create another list, list 2, and let's take the names Bob, Craig, and let's take one more Chris. Now let's try to copy the elements from list 2 and assign it to list 3. List 2 dot copy. We are trying to copy the elements from list 2 and assign it to list 3 by using the copy function. And let's try to print both list 2 as well as list 3 to see the values. So let's try to print this in the console and see. Run it. So now you can see copy from one list to another using copy function, list 2, and we try to copy the elements from list 2 to list 3 using the copy function. Okay, so now the next thing is copy from one list to another list using list function. Let's take list 4, and by using the list function, let's try to copy the elements from list 3 to list 4 by using the list function. And since we already know the values inside list 3, and now let's try to print list 4. Let's print this as well so we can see in the console, and Control S to save the file and run it. So now we'll see the values inside list 4, and we were able to copy the elements inside list 3 to list 4 using the list function. Okay, now let's see how to use concatenation operator plus to concatenate two lists. So let's create another list, list 5. Let's try to concatenate list 3 and list 4. This is list 3 and this is list 4. Let's try to concatenate these two, and let's try to print the values inside list 5. Let's try to print this as well, so we'll see in the console. So when we concatenate, you'll see Bob, Craig, Chris, Bob, Craig, Chris. So we are able to concatenate using plus operator. Now let's try to concatenate two lists using append operator. Okay, so for element in list 3, let's take list 3. List 3 is Bob, Craig, and Chris, right? So for each element, so we are trying to loop through the elements inside list 3, and let's append this to list 4. So we are trying to loop through the elements inside list 3, and each element one by one we are trying to add it to the list 4. So this is our list 4, that is Bob, Craig, and Chris, and we are trying to take each element from list 3 and trying to add it to the list 4. Now let's take this and copy the same thing to see in the console, and let's try to print list 4. So now Bob, Craig, and Chris, that is list 3. For this we created another list and we try to append it to the list. Each element inside list 3 is added to the list 4. So list 4 also has Bob, Craig, and Chris, and from list 3 it took each element one by one and added to the list 4 by using a append function. So either we can use concatenation operator plus, or we can also use append function. And then now the last one, how to concatenate two lists using extend function. So we can do in these 3 different ways. So let's take for the extend function list 3 dot extend, and let's try to add this and list 4. Now let's try to print this and print our list 3. Now if you run it, so you can see Bob, Craig, Chris, Bob, Craig, Chris, Bob, Craig, Chris. So now our list 4 has this from the previous concatenation using the append operator, and for that list 4 we added list 3 as well. So now you'll see one more Bob, Craig, Chris added to the list 4, and these two concatenated, and the output is this one. So in the next lecture we'll learn tuples. All right, see you in the next lecture.